and responsibilities you uh, worked earlier?
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, so mostly I worked as a developer. It's an agile environment that we are working on, agile team basically.
Okay.
Basically worked as a developer in all the projects. However, for a temporary duration, I also worked for the requirement gathering, but that is like only 1 or 2 months. The major roles and responsibility is that of a developer. I'm playing in this team, developing the code, deploying, and if any issue comes, then debugging and solving it. You know.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Sunil, how many years you have the experience? How much comfortable to work on this React? I saw it in your profile. You mentioned you worked on React.
So React, if you ask, React, I have worked for around 2 years or maybe 2.5 years. Yeah.
Okay. So, like, so if I give any requirement, so will you able to work on this UI?
Can you come again? If you
Okay, just if we give the opportunity to work on React and UI side,
Mm-hmm.
so will you able to work on that?
Yeah, yeah, I can.
Okay. So let me give you one scenario. First of all, like, so why is what is the advantage of using React? So we have the Angular and other frameworks also, right? So why is we want to choose only React?
Well, first of all, see, everything is having their advantages and disadvantages. Advantages side are React. It's a lightweight library basically, developed by Facebook in around 2011. It's first thing is lightweight. Second thing, it's kind of faster because it directly doesn't work on the virtual DOM. So yeah, it doesn't work directly on the real DOM. It works on the virtual DOM concept. There is a mechanism that React follows, which is called as reconciliation. It's like
Okay.
it compares the virtual and the real DOM, so that saves up the rendering or re-rendering of the application on the actual browser HTML. Plus, the kind of hierarchy it follows, it's like class level and objects, and oops concept is somewhere is getting involved in here. So it's pretty easy for a Java developer to grasp it in this case. It's a lightweight; it doesn't take much space as opposed to Angular, which is a full-blown framework. Works on the MVC. Plus, in React, we have it supports server-side rendering, which is again an advantage for the for the developers to for company to have it. Yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Okay. So okay. So I will give you one scenario. Like, so what are the configurations and so how we can do this integration with backend services? Can you give me so in details what, like, so I will give one scenario login screen. See, you want to develop this functionality using React, and
Uh-huh.
so how you will what is your approach and how you will start working on this?
So do you want me to explain the whole flow from UI to backend or just the UI?
Yeah. So in high level UI to backend. So you got the requirement login screen, login functionality you have to implement using front end as React and back end as microservices. Like, so what are the things you will take care and so how you will start working on this?
Okay. If you work by the like first of all, I'll go a bit in the database side also. You need to have a table that is it would be better if it is a multiple tables, multiple one to many or many to one relations, so that should have our credentials, based on IDs or other details. Apart from this, from the okay, I'll go with the UI side. UI is like you have to have a screen, you have to have a component. Okay, that component. I'm basically talking about the UI screen here. You need to have fields, username and password, and also you need to provide a link to the user where if forgot password is forgotten, then he has a way to retrieve his password or reset his password. These things should be there. The username and password they should have some validations also, like the blank validations, or if we have any company specific restrictions on the password or username, you can have that validation in the UI. So that basically we can do from the JavaScript libraries, all the validations part. Okay. From the button, we need to have a button, two buttons basically. One is the reset, and one is the login or the submit part, right? If you ask from the component perspective, the component should have the button, and they should have the either you can have hooks or you can have the lifecycle methods. It's up to you, completely up to you. So you need to have a on-click event. As soon as you click on any button, it should invoke some event, right? So after clicking the button, the event should hold all the username and password that you are carrying to the backend, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
if you want, you can also use Redux in that. It's a state management part. However, it is a bit, it's a bit experience. It's a bit advanced level I'm talking. So for Redux, what is like, once you logged in properly, and once you get the response, like you get all the user details. Ideally, when you log in, you should get all the credential and all the details of the user. So that you can save in the Redux store, for the later use and for the later validations. Now you need to have libraries to connect to the backend using HTTP request. Okay, we should
Okay.
use post request for it, and either we can use Windows library, which is the fetch, or the post. Sorry. So there is a particular method, or a library from the window that help us to post the HTTP request, which is fetch or the post. You have to provide the URL in that, and it gives you the way to the HTTP request to the backend. Or if you want, you can use async and Xios. It's a library. It's a separate library. EXTJS is using it, so we can use that in React also. Now you have the URL
Okay.
ready. You have the data ready to be sent to the backend. Okay, you have all the validations in place for the UI, and also if you want, however, it's not required at this point of time, but you can also have a timeout functionalities also. Like if you're stuck on a screen, you should have a timeout to go back to the login screen with the blank fields.
Okay.
So when you hit the URL or the service from the front end UI, that is using Exaios library or the fetch, then it goes to the backend. I'm expecting we are using Spring Boot over here. Okay. So, so we have to have a microservices in the backend. I'm trying to explain the backend part now. So it should have a entry
Okay.
point.
Fine.
It should have an entry point which is at the rate REST controller, right? It should be able to fetch your request using at the rate request mapping, and your context should be there in that. And on your method, you need to do basic validations on the backend side also. Like it's not like you are validating from the front end, so you don't need to validate from the backend. You need to have a validation on the backend. However, that validation might not be required for this particular service because you are logging in here. So also in the backend, if you feel like you need to have any validation for the blank fields or any other fields, you can put it there. After that, you need to have a service layer, which should be marked as a @component or @service. Okay.
Okay.
So in that service, basically you need to call a DAO layer. You know, the DAO layer should be annotated with @repository, and should be implementing JP or CRUD repository if you are using a JPA library. So if you are using entity basically for the database transactions.
Okay.
Okay, now
Okay.
now you're having it. Now just make a call to the DAO layer using various JPA methods, or if you are having a JDBC template, then you can use the queries, native queries also. So as soon as you make the call to backend, ideally what should happen is it should bring in all your name, all your details except for the password, along with the JWT token, so that each user should be identified for a particular session properly, along with all your roles and responsibilities. I'm pretty sure every company follows a hierarchy, like where what roles you have and whatever you have, they gives you, like they provide you that. So that you have to fetch, and
Yes.
that you have to bring into the front end side. And as this is for the
Okay.
happy path scenario, now let's suppose you put a wrong password, right? So wrong password
Okay.
should give you the proper response. In my case, what I would follow is we should have a error code and error description field, right? And that error code and description should be company specific. Like it's not on the HTTP status. We can if it is
Okay.
a wrong password, then we can provide the error code as some 01 and provide user password or user credentials are wrong, and we should send that response as HTTP status 200 because the request is correct but the data is not validated. Apart from this, if you are
Yeah. Fine. Yeah. Fine. Fine. Thanks for that. And however, you can take the issues. You can take the and so you can continue. So you don't bother about this one. And how you were transferring this data from your React to services? Are you using any filters or like so to send this data? Once user authentication is done, okay. So if you want to call any other APIs, so we need to send the user information, right, to
Mhm.
backend services.
Correct.
So how you were transferring this data?
Okay, cool. So as I mentioned, we have something called as Redux in the UI side, right? State management tool. So
Okay.
this is like it is maintaining your data in a store from the React side. Once you log in properly, all your data will be stored permanently in this store. So if you want to do any operations, right, then you can apart from all the data in the JSON, you can send your JWT or your user credentials in that particular request to the backend, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So
Got it. And so how you will create the React project and how you are deploying and where you are deploying this application?
okay, so we are using the same the native React projects like the ways to create the project. It's like create React app and all that we use. But if you ask for the deployment part, it's like we are doing the same thing. We are bundling the whole application in a single JS, you know.
Okay.
Also for the performance purpose, we also have a separate bundle, but that is for a performance configuration. Ideally, we have the whole application to be bundled in a single JS called as bundle.js, and we move it using Jenkins to a particular cloud, which is IBM Cloud, and we deploy it there. Like it's not like Docker or Kubernetes, but it's like IBM specific part. So
Yeah. Which service are you using in IBM specific to deploy your React JS? Which service are you using
I'm not
in
really.
IBM Cloud? So there are so many services. So if you want to deploy, so we need to choose the particular service.
I'm not sure because the DevOps part is not handled by the developers. Like they have been given a UI website, and we just have to, you know,
Okay.
we just have to create the build. We just have to create the build, ask for the approval, and the rest of the things have been done by IBM DevOps team. I'm really
Okay.
not sure about it.
No issues. No issues. And so have you worked on Angular side? You can take the no issues.
You are asking about Angular?
Yes. Yes.
No, I'm really sorry. I did not work on the Angular side.
Okay. Okay. So you didn't work on this Angular, right? No issues. And for Node.js, so do you have experience in Node.js?
In Node.js, I am no. I mean, I barely had the time to work on it. It's for just 1 month or so, so I don't count it in.
Okay, fine, fine, no issues. And what about HTML, JavaScript, CSS, jQuery, Azure, Bootstrap? So you have, I think, so you are using React.js. Maybe you may already worked on this. Am I correct? HTML, JavaScript, jQuery,
Yeah,
Bootstrap.
HTML, CSS, I did have some experience. Okay, but it's not to a very extensive level because most of the time HTML and CSS part are either been pre-planned by the UX guys or even if it is given to us, it's more of a the basic functionalities for HTML and CSS, not the extensive like you know or the block elements or we have to decide and all. That's what.
Okay, coming back to your React one, so which you explained this user
Mhm.
login screen. So, so you explained right so about login screen, how you will design, what are the things it's required. So there, how you are creating your structure, this DOM structure. So are you not using this HTML or DOM structure elements on CSS, or are you using any other templates,
Well,
materials?
if you talk about React part, then mostly yeah. I mean, if you can say there is a syntax, there is a JSX that kind of uses the syntax as that of HTML. Okay, but
Okay.
it is much simpler than what we normally do in the HTML. Like, of course, we have the tags, we have the div tags, we have the group, we have the forms also in there, right? We have the if we are having an array or the ordered list, we do have a key and all. That is also
Mhm.
there, but that is yeah, that's what if you're talking about that I have used. The CSS part also, there are external file CSS that we were using. We try to avoid the inline changes, inline CSS changes. Mostly, it's a separate file
Mhm.
that we are using for the CSS implementation in that. But again,
Okay.
mostly most of the part is being given by other teams, as I said, UX team. Only the few
Okay.
minor
No, no issues.
changes. Yeah.
Are you comfortable writing the JavaScript?
JavaScript, yeah, yeah.
Okay. How we can create a asynchronous user-defined function? Asynchronous functions.
Okay. So if you're talking about, are you talking about React or are you talking about the JavaScript, plain JavaScript?
I think the JavaScript and React is similar, where
No,
you will define your functional scripting functionality.
if you yeah, like I am
I
not sure if you are using async keyword in the plain JavaScript. If it is so, then I am not sure about. But in React, you have something called as async. The async
Yeah.
keyword.
So in JavaScript also similar only.
Okay.
In JavaScript. So it, JavaScript is the base one, like what are the new frameworks is coming, right? So they are internally, so they are using these functionalities, but they
Yeah.
are making it
Correct.
developers work easier by creating these frameworks.
Correct. 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 Correct.
Okay.
So yeah.
Uh, so you how you work on Ajax functionality? There's one same asynchronous functionalities in React.
Yeah, I did use so async along with the you know uh, async with what is that? This object, right? Async if you have the async and if you have the object for I'm forgetting the name of that object that is basically used to catch and to serve the request. Um, so if you use the async keyword along with that object promise object, right?
Yeah.
So there we can use the asynchronous operation from the React side. You need to
Yeah. So,
provide
so
us.
have you heard anything in React like subject, observable, subscribers?
Yes, 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 correct. These are there. But
Have you promises? Have you
promise,
used
yeah,
this one?
promise object, yeah.
Uh, I think yeah. So have you worked on Java 8 features?
Yeah, I did. I did work on few of them.
So what are the Java 8 features so far you used in your application? So can you please please.
Okay. So to begin with, there is recently this came into picture that we have used a default method um,
Okay.
inside the existing interface. So it's an already implemented interface, and we wanted to use a particular functionality from that interface into few of the implemented classes, not all of them. So for that purpose, we included this default method, and we are using it for certain purpose in the application. Apart from this,
Okay.
however, we did not use, but we can have static methods also coming Java 8 onwards in the interface, right? Apart from
Okay.
this, the major chunk is the Lambda expressions or the Stream API, I would say. So those we have
Okay.
used extensively in our applications. Not all of them, but most of them. Filter, and then map, and then count, and then also there are others, mostly filters and for each also. So that we have used from the Lambda expressions, I mean from the Stream API side. Plus Lambda expression is again it's a part of Java 8 and Stream API. We have functional interfaces getting introduced, supplier, function, predicate, that also we have used. Apart from this, method references, that also we have used, where you can provide the method name and directly access the method using the class name. That also we have used. Optional is again something which we have used extensively in the project, to handle the null checks and to have the values returned from a JPA database. So that also we have used. A few places we try to use the local date or the new time API, date time API that is being introduced in the Java 8. So this is pretty much all we have used. Apart from this, we have something called as JavaScript libraries introduced in Java 8. We haven't used it, but I know about it a bit, and
Okay.
that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Good. And have you used this Stream APIs, Stream Java Stream API? So what is the advantage of Stream APIs? So we have the collections also, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what makes it different when we talk about the streams, Java 8 streams?
Okay. So yeah, first thing first, Java Stream API basically, if you see, it uses the memory, volatile memory for the execution. Second thing, we cannot reuse the objects. Like you cannot populate the objects and reuse the objects later. The scope of execution is the only where we can use that object, but we cannot use existing object and like in existing in the collections iteration, you can populate a object and you can use it for later use. But in this case, you can only use it in the scope of stream or the stream operation, intermediate or whatever the terminal operations you are using. Okay. Second thing,
Okay.
the stream operations, it runs in the memory. It does not like it has nothing to do with the heap memory in this case. It runs on a volatile memory part. Third thing, the iteration, right? So stream API uses internal iterations, right? And this collections API, it uses external iterations. Like user has control over the iteration, whereas in the streams you do not have control over the iterations. And also the stream API, it helps you in the parallel processing by places by using parallel streams and all, which you cannot do in the collections part. So and also it's pretty performance wise also it's good, since it runs on the it does not use much of heap memory. It uses parallel processing, so it's also good for performance. That's why people use the stream.
And do you know the difference between map and flat map in Java?
Okay, so map is like you have a collection, or you have a stream. You have to do some or you have to do some operation on each and every element in the map, each and every element in the stream. For that purpose, you use map, right? It's like if you want to make every number to its square, so you can use map for it. Flat map is also something similar, but it's like it can work on the stream of streams, or I would say collection of collections. like you have a list of lists of string, and if you want to unify that list of list into a single list, for that purpose you can use a flat map. So
Okay.
that is how we use it.
Got it. Yeah. I shared one snippet. This code. Uh, are you able to see this one?
Let me check here. Yeah, I can see now.
Yeah. So just assume this. You have the collection of employees
Uh-huh.
in a list. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And just we need to extract the employees whose
Mm-hmm.
name starts with R. So can you write a piece of code logic to extract this employee's name starts with R using Java 8 strings?
Okay, so shall I write it in Notepad or shall I write it in the chat box?
You can write it in chat box itself. So just I need the logic. That's it. How
Oh,
you are going to extract the details
okay, yeah. Let me try.
using Java 8.
Mm-hmm. Can you see?
And have you worked on Hibernate over JPA?
Yeah, I did work on JPA part, but if you ask about the rating, I would rate myself around 2.5 to 3 out of 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, it's fine. Like how you can uh, integrate this JPA in Spring Boot? Like if you want to use this implementation of this
Uh-huh.
JPA in Spring Boot, so how you will do this configuration?
Okay. So first of all, if you want to include the dependency, right? So for that purpose, you don't need to do much in that because they have a starter in case of JPA. Like they have something called as string.starter.jpa. I'm sorry, string.starter. I am forgetting the name, but you have a starter dependency for the JPA.
No, it's okay. I don't want to in detail to name the basic one in high level. So what are the configurations and where? So we need to do that configuration. So if you explain that, it's enough.
Okay, so if you're talking about okay, so mainly JPA is like you need to have an entity first of all of your table that should reflect the table that you have in the database. Okay, and
Okay.
you should have that entity. The table name should be there in the entity along with the matching column names, right? Okay,
Okay.
and then you need to have a identifier key also You can have a key column also at the rate ID. It should be auto generated or it should be coming from a sequence that you can mention in that. Okay, like that.
Just let's say you have the entities already. Entities is there
Mhm.
based on your table structure. You have the entities.
Okay.
Apart from this one, so is there anything we have to configure in property file, or also if we want to use any templates to
Uh-huh.
interact with the database? So that
Oh, okay.
one I'm looking.
Okay, so here you have to, if you don't do anything, it will by default takes up the H2 database, but you need to provide certain fields. You need to provide the connection, you need to provide the DB name, URL, the user, there are certain properties that you need to set that Spring Boot uses to
Okay,
connect with the database. Okay, you need to provide the dialects
okay,
and all. I'm forgetting about the property names, but exactly what are the names for those property. But if
okay,
you give all those details, then it will override your default H2 implementation, and it will takes up the implementation of a database, whatever is provided in the application.property.
okay.
Okay.
And so what about templates? So JPA templates also you have to use, right?
Yeah, JPA
Implementation.
templates, as in you're talking about at the rate repository and all the DAO.
Yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. So in repository, in the DAO layer, you need to provide at the rate repository. Plus, if you're using JPA, you have two interfaces. One is with the default implementation, of course. One is JPA repository. Other one is the CRUD repository. Okay. In CRUD
Okay,
repository, you can have the basic fetch and the post fetch and the save operations. Along with that, if you're using JPA repository, you get the addition of having segmentations and also some segmentation is also there. This is an added advantage for the JPA.
okay. Fine. Then so how you were running your Spring Boot application?
Running as in you're talking about local or you're talking about
Okay, you can explain it in local how you are executing your Spring Boot application.
uh-huh.
And have you worked on JUnit or Mockito?
I did, but not very extensively. Just for the basic unit test cases, we use JUnits and also some cases Mockito also. They have methods for catching the exception. They have method for throwing exception, or they have method to does not execute anything at all based on certain conditions. You need to provide the configuration with the component scan in case of running JUnit in the Spring Boot. Okay. Likewise, you have to provide fake, not fake actually, but you need to provide beans. You need to provide static beans that are getting initialized when you start a JUnit in the Spring Boot applications
Okay.
for the dependency injections.
So what is the use of mock object?
Mock object basically, it act as a, I'm not sure about it, but it act as a container for, and also it gives you functionality to, to mock the application, to provide you the methods that you can use to, act or to record the response of a particular microservice or a particular service, in a microservice environment, and you can use various methods to get the response, to throw exceptions, to not sure much about it though, just this much.
Okay. I know. And so do you know design pattern? So if you know what are the design patterns so far you used?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, a few of the design patterns that we have used. One is like singleton we have used, template design pattern we have used, drafter design pattern we have used, and also decorator design pattern we have used at few places. Yeah, and if you see, there are some core functionalities like in Java which uses prototype design pattern also. So if you talk about this, we have used these much. Like if you say The builder part also we have used, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think she used this MVC design pattern, front controller design pattern, and wave resolver design pattern, data access DAO design pattern,
Correct,
data
correct.
transfer design
Right,
pattern,
right.
and service locator design pattern. I think you have already used all this one in your Spring Boot. It came
Correct, correct.
as part of your implementations.
If you say this view
Okay.
resolver or the MVC part, of course, yeah. I sorry, I forgot to mention the MVC also. But view resolver, I mean, we are kind of using it, but it's kind of a skip for us because view resolver it internally. I mean, yeah, yeah, you are right. Actually, I should have mentioned that also. But if you want, I can
Okay.
explain you.
Yeah, I know. And how you were maintaining security for your REST APIs? So have you done any security? Have you enabled any security to access this API, to REST API?
Well, I see. It's just. I mean, unfortunately, it's abstract by the time when I joined this team. They did use a separate microservice, and before running any of the microservices, they have to take a validation from that particular microservice. I mean, when you run a particular microservice, it gives the call to that particular microservice first, which validates your roles and responsibilities, your functionalities, your password, and also some JWT token is also been introduced. I mean, is also being used for the security purpose. So using that, we are maintaining the security of all the microservices. It's all dependent upon a single microservice, which of course is again either I'm not sure either using Kafka or either using REST template. They are interacting with that service, and as soon as that service validates, it returns a true or false that service. So as soon as it returns true, you are good to go with the security part.
Okay. So coming to the same one, like you said, so JWT so already they use, right? So are you using any web security, RESTful web security one to allow only specific authorized users can access the particular API resource, like based on the user role.
Uh-huh.
So you have to allow the resources, REST APIs.
Correct.
Like suppose add user, delete user. So is the two resources,
Mhm.
RESTful APIs. Okay? So that two APIs only need to expose for admins, not for all.
Okay.
So this kind of security, so how you enabled on your application, or have you seen this one? I think so. Your project also having this kind of scenarios. Like based
Yeah.
on rules, so you need to expose these APIs.
So basically, when you do a login, um, all your entitlements are also getting loaded in the system. Okay.
Okay.
And when you try to, like, suppose you have some functionality where which is given to the admin only, right? So if you are an admin, the we do a match in the first of all in the UI also. If you are an admin, if you are not an admin and you try to access something which is of admin, first of all that button we kept as disabled. If you're talking about the backend part, like if somebody inserted or try to insert into the backend using Postman or any other REST APIs, so for that purpose, this microservice which I'm telling you, right? If as soon as you pass your entitlement to this particular microservice, it tries to match all your roles and responsibilities, and if they are matching, it will let you to perform that operation, or else it will simply block you off with a status 200 and saying that user not entitled or something like.
Okay.
I know you were expecting Spring security, but unfortunately, I did not work on the Spring security part.
No worries. So just have a look on that Spring Security map. So because whenever you are writing your RESTful API, APIs, right? So we have to take care of this one restriction, like providing the security for our API.
Yeah.
Otherwise, so if you know the API and so you are the you have the access, right?
Uh-huh.
Like within the same organization, so if you have access, everyone can access that. So but we have to restrict based on the rules also, right? So
I
that one how you can.
I know a bit
Maybe you
about string
may
security.
use the
Uh-huh.
so you may use the, I mean, in your application, so maybe use any filter classes which will identify your authorization, and based on that, what are the API you're trying to access,
Uh-huh.
based on this authorization levels, so it will either allow or provide this request.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Could be.
And you the API. So what are the modules you put in Spring Boot?
Okay. So first of all, the Spring basic Spring Boot, the normal API. Then there is Spring JPA part also I have used. Spring MVC also, the earlier Spring MVC, yeah, also we have worked on. And also, if you say a bit of Spring Batch, however, I did not do the configuration, but we have worked on it. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Not the Spring Security, but most of the Spring JPA and Spring MVC and Spring Batch we have worked on.
Okay.
And also Spring Job, if you know, if you're talking about it.
Yeah, yeah, fine. And have you involved any deployment activities for the user use side? So you have the okay. Have you worked on the CI/CD integration part?
Can you come again? I didn't get through this one.
Have you worked on CI/CD integrations?
Can you exaggerate please? I might not be getting the word, but I might be working on it.
No, no. Like so, have you using continuous integration, continuous deliverables like CI/CD pipelines? Have you heard about this one DevOps or Jenkins?
Yeah, Jenkins we have used for the building purpose. But if you talk about the configuration, no, it's like we just have to hit a particular script in the Jenkins and it builds the project for us, which is ready for the deployment in the cloud. That's what we did from our side. Rest, if you talk about the internals of that script, that the DevOps team is taking care of.
Okay. So how you were managing your source code? So are you using any repositories?
Yeah, yeah. So we are using Git for the versioning of the version control, basically.
Okay. Fine, fine. Okay. Can, can you tell me like so what is the like so if you have you ever came across the scenarios like so you have uh, identified or maybe so you have the a very big problem in your application
Mm-hmm.
and so you got the opportunity to identify that and so fix that issues. So is there
Yeah,
anything to experience?
yeah. Recently, I won't say it's an issue, but it's more of a performance issue, I would say. So we recently developed something, as I said, Spring Job. That Spring Job basically takes up to the 2 million or so data from the database, processes it, applies the changes and saves it. This is what the functionality of that particular job is. But unfortunately, it was taking around 10 to 12 hours to complete it, even though it's a multi-threading environment. Okay,
Okay.
because of the dependency on an external mainframe service that does not accept the batch request. It only requests one request at a time. But even then, also from our side, we are also having some delays in responses. Okay, So we made some fixes. First of all, from the multi-threading side, we were invoking the callable object one by one. Using that, there was some performance delay. So we started using, there is a particular method in the executor service called as invoke all. So that invoke
Okay,
all
got
of
it,
your
got it.
call. Yeah, this is one thing.
Right. Yeah.
Also, I mean, if you want to,
Thank you.
okay.
No, that's fine. So you use this executor services. Yeah. So no worries. And yeah, thanks, Nitish. Thanks for your time. And so I'm done from my side.
Okay.
So maybe HRs will get back.
Sure. Thanks, Ravi. It was nice talking to you.